Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 10, Unification Party podcast and political party. I have good news for us, Adrian. We've had our fourth member join today. So we are
Oh,
now four people strong. So we're growing.
that's a lucky number.
Things aren't looking good for April 28th for us for getting a majority,
No,
but they're
you don't say.
potentially minority status is not mathematically off the table. But we'll worry about that at our planning meeting next week. I guess we'll get to tariffs. You can't get off tariffs. I guess every show for the next little while will just be tariffs and tariff updates because it's the only thing that's happening in the news
Well, on
that's
a note,
related to us for
I,
sure.
I, I saw something in the news that kind of was about tariffs, but it kind of grinded my gears a little. Like it was talking about Mark Carney's rally and like how he commented on Daniel Smith, and then the article went in to talk about how since she went on Breitbart and like asked the Americans to like be gentle, considering oil is the majority thing they import. Can you and she's like getting heat. Like this was the Canadian media's take. It's like and you're just like I read the article and I reread that part a bunch and I'm just like wait a second. She avoided tariffs for her province and like she's in trouble. Like what are we doing here? Like what I don't get it. Like I get you don't like Trump. That's clear and that's fine even whatever. But like to take your takeaway to be like, oh, she's getting heat, and then you're like, okay, what was the outcome? Like, because I'm like, okay, what was she getting heat for? And you're just like, oh, she's getting heat because she talked to the wrong people and got a good result for her people.
Yeah,
And
but this is like it's an ideological cult. So you're either all in or you're out.
well,
There's no middle ground.
but before we
I
get into
noticed that
tariffs,
too.
but okay, yeah, sorry.
But in general, I noticed that across, like just across the board, it's like you're all in or you're all out. Like the more research I do, and I go back every day to these different, like Bloomberg or this or CBC or something, if they were legitimate news sources, they would eventually say, even by accident, that something good happened, that Trump did one even tiny thing that was sensible or smart, or they might even do it as a blooper, like, oh, bumbly Trump made this policy, but by accident it actually worked in this unintended way. He's still an idiot, but there are less kids dying of fentanyl in Pennsylvania or something. So,
Yeah, they don't usually give a fair shake. You are right. I know they got a bias,
well, no, I know no one is this. That's not
and
news to anyone that
well,
the
another
media is not giving
observation
a
to
fair
support
shake.
that, there was an article I saw today talking about the Chinese government infiltrating the Mark Carney campaign, and like even the title was like Carney targeted. Like that was the headline. Carney targeted. Like so, you read Carney targeted, and what do you think? Like you're like kind of like, oh my god, I hope he's okay. He was targeted. Like, what are we doing here? And then you like look
Chinese
into it,
targeted.
and you're like, oh, he's targeted to get a boost from the Chinese Communist Party on like Weibo there or whatever, and you're just like, what? Very misleading. Like, and then
No, it is funny. Like it's again. I'm not. Oh, surprise, everyone! The media has bias. I'm just there's no surprise, but the more intent I am on trying to do a good job of understanding the situation, you start seeing exactly what you're talking about. These trends, like certain words, it's like the sentence is true, but the word just puts it in just the right way.
yeah,
Like the one guy today, like for instance, he said, and like he's talking about how they laughed at Trump because he tariffed everyone, the whole world.
the Mad
And
King.
then the next sentence was, and then Trump, you never know what he's doing, like tariffing everybody all willy nilly. And then I'm like, well, is he willy nilly? Like willy nilly would imply here, there, and somewhere over there, but it seems to me like it's like there's an unwillingness to understand like it is for simply what it is. Like everyone's saying in clear language. And then they can't hold in their mind that two things can be true. Like, yes, the tariffs are a threat,
And volatile. Like
and
they are a volatile
and
tool.
yeah, and they are negotiating leverage, and they could be a revenue generator. But his critics talk about him like he's insane because, well, one time he's saying that the tariffs are going to uh, generate revenue, and then the very next sentence is he's going to be like, well, we'll negotiate the tariffs away, and if you negotiated the tariffs away, how could they be income generators? And it's like, and then it's like it's madness.
Brother, I remember this kind of completely off topic, but similar vein. I remember when Joy Reid got fired from MSNBC. There was a lady on the internet who was correlating Joy Reid's firing to Donald Trump. And you're just like, how did you get there? Like, everything is like 2 degrees of this man, like somehow, and it's always negative. It's never mildly positive, but you can see that forever. And it's the same thing with our government. Like, and you can see it right now with Daniel Smith and Doug Ford. Like, I've never seen, even when Doug Ford would talk about Trudeau, as a guy who liked Doug Ford more than Trudeau, I wish he was a little meaner to Trudeau. Actually, I felt him. He was very diplomatic when he spoke about Trudeau and spoke with Trudeau. Like, he was like, you'd almost like you'd want your leaders to be like, even if they're from different parties, the greater good can be, focused on. And when Mark Carney was talking about Daniel Smith the other night, and like just and it also goes to speak with our echo chamber thing we were talking about, where people are kind of siloed because like you look at the same clip and like right now like both sides use the same clip as like the argument they're right. Like they're and there's even like I actually wanted to show you something. I have it. I went just looking for like the this like liberal Pierre ad, like anti-Pierre ad from the liberals, and I found before I found it, which I want to show you as well. I found a clip like at the top of the Liberal Party of Canada's Twitter page. They have like I just want to show you this, and I want your reaction. This was on their webpage. Like they want everybody to see this, and they think after watching this 30-second clip of Pierre at a rally the other night, you'll be on their side.
How many people do you think we had last night?
Thousands.
Well, that's pretty obvious. I think you can be more precise than that.
I don't. I mean, the party said 10,000 registered. There's reports of 15. I really can't say.
One last question: when was the last time we had a rally that big in Canada?
I don't know. I've never been to a political rally that big. I don't think.
You know a lot about politics.
Well,
You're a very well-informed person. I know that if there were a bigger rally than that, you would know about it. I think so. How many people do you think we had last night?
Thousands.
So that's like they're sharing that on their website, like, and the statement above it reads on the post. Okay, sorry, give me 1 second. Getting new to these sharing links thing. It basically reads, I think it says like words don't even need to be spoken. Like it says presented without comment. That's all they say. And then they show that 30-second clip of Pierre.
So are you telling me that the Liberal Party puts that out
that's
and
the
there's
top of the Twitter page.
No words need to be spoken?
Oh, actually, no, sorry. It wasn't Liberal Party. I apologize. It was Carney Media. So
okay, so the Liberal
Carney
Party.
Media.
Right.
Like rapid response and fact checks from at Liberal Party HQ. So an arm of the Liberal Party, like of the Prime Minister.
So, and this is supposed to mean what? What to me? What?
Pierre,
how am I supposed to be?
You're supposed to not like Pierre. You're supposed to like Mark Carney more after you watch that, I guess. But you're just kind of like, you're what? You see how I scratched my head when I saw that? And I was like,
I guess you could say if I didn't know anything about Carney or Pierre in that clip could come across a tiny smug, I suppose. I mean, that'd be the worst criticism. But I'm not, but I don't understand what that is all about. Because, I do know some things about Pierre and I know some things about Carney, so I don't view that as a turning point.
And not like a definitive one, like, because it's presented without comment. Like, that's the only comment they made is presented without comment. And
yeah, I like that. That's ballsy. So is that a great way? Is it like, like if you had a New Yorker cartoon and it's like too clever, and I think there was a joke in Seinfeld about one where it's like the New Yorker doesn't make sense.
No one got it. Like
no one gets it, but you don't want to admit it because you're not too smart. Is this
it's a moray? What do you mean it's a moray? Yeah.
So you just put some nonsensical thing Like, and then everybody can then read into it their own, I
Whatever
guess,
they
their
want to
own
see, though.
thing.
Whatever you want to see.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah. And
watched that.
if you claim you don't see something, then every people can, like, like you're an idiot, I guess. But I don't know. That's crazy.
Yeah, I know it's
That
not like anything crazy. It's not like a major thing, but you're just kind of like, just to show like the worlds apart of like understanding. Like I saw that and I'm kind of like, more Pierre. Like, are you guys just running Pierre clips now? Because that doesn't seem to be a good thing. But
no,
like,
they've got me. They've got my vote.
I guess they think their base would watch that and think like this is a good thing. Now, have you seen the another like this is what I really initially wanted to show you was the Liberal Party like right from Trump's playbook. Their 30-second anti-Pierre ad. Have you seen that?
No, fire it up.
All right, let's get her going here.
How do you address the concerns of being too closely aligned to a foreign government that is threatening Canada and is destroying its own country right now?
Well, your question is false.
Everything is broken.
Everything is broken.
The left-wing censorship regime.
Their woke censorship ideology.
Feeding the radical left.
Radical, leftist, authoritarian. The Americans' fault. It's our fault. We're stupid.
I loved it. I don't know. I don't know what. Again, I don't know what they're thinking, but that's their
Yeah, I
attack.
guess, but I don't
I'm not
disagree.
gonna
I don't disagree with anything either of them said.
No, I was like amazing. Like that's great. Like, but
Yeah,
again, obviously
yeah.
that just speaks to the echo chamber effect, where clearly there's a vast majority of the country that disagrees with that worldview, and I'm not foolish enough to think that that doesn't exist. Like, obviously, but it's just wild. Like, I don't know, another tone deaf. I think reach
Well,
of
the media is ridiculous. On that we can agree.
that was a
I
liberal.
don't.
Those both were liberal
No,
party.
but across the board, there's always this.
True.
One thing I noticed this week, last couple of days, was looking at stuff. I had this idea. I'm sure it's not an original idea, but I'm beginning to believe that like tariffs are a word for Trump. It's like why Trump is so persuasive and so intelligent in the way he gets his message out is because he can encompass many things. Like he speaks like a poet, right? There's like 15 different things that are angles that the word tariff actually means, but it summarizes all in the one word. So I'll try to give you an example because it's confusing what I'm trying to get at. So a normal politician would say like, well, to maintain stability in our country and grow jobs and something, these countries have done these grievances against us. One, this, that, something. Two, this, three. And then by the time the guys talk to you, you don't even know what's going on as the average person. You're bored, you've zoned out. And then, these are the reasons why we're going to implement tariffs as a strategy, and we're going with that we can use as leverage. We can, but to fight against, but right. That's what a normal politician says. But Trump sums up like 15 different complaints he has with how the global economy is run, and summarizes it in like two concepts: that we're being ripped off, right? It's not a list of like
It's almost guttural.
reasons.
Almost
It's
guttural.
guttural, yeah. We Americans were being ripped off, and it summarizes a bunch of things. And then tariffs are the solution, but that encompasses a bunch of things. And that's why these media experts have their disconnect, because they're looking so literally at what Trump says, like it's a leverage tool, it's a this. No, it's tariffs is a word that represents equalizing, restoring. It can mean 50,000 things to Trump, but he's still being consistent with his message. My goal here, I'm going to summarize it so they can maybe understand it. Trump's goal is to, one, wake the world up that change is a coming and it's here. Two, he's going to do what he thinks is best for America, working class, middle class, restore manufacturing, and he's deadly serious about that by any means necessary. And if you look at all the things he says and does and pulls tariffs back and puts tariffs back on, and all these things that they say are chaotic, they're not. They make sense in the framework of, if you understand that tariffs, like, it's a word. Because obviously, look, already countries have said, oh, we're happy to go 0-0 tariffs with you. Like the EU has said that, and he's like, no dice. And then you, not good enough. But then I actually looked into it, and this is interesting. Check this out. And again, he uses the same thing with VAT tax. Now, if a German company makes a product and sells it, there's a VAT tax on it, exactly the same. But if an American company does, there's a VAT tax on it, exactly the same.
Like
So,
GS
but that word it's the wrong word, and you could make an argument that the VAT tax is a detriment, is because it becomes an administrative nightmare for American companies. But I'm going to put that aside. I'm actually going to dismiss the VAT tax argument. But the VAT tax, he says those words, but again, it encompasses many things. And I thought this was interesting. What do I got here? Okay. They have in Europe, for instance, if we had a $100 product that we ship to Europe, right? It would cost to ship it with the same company from Europe to the North America or the US of A, that it would cost like $10 for Europe to send it to America. Okay.
$30
So
to
ours
send it in?
double. So $20 to send it there with the same company. And the reason being, it's all green initiatives, landing and port fees that the USA doesn't use in the same way. So what I found when you look at all these, without boring you with a bunch of details, essentially Europe's tactic is not even tariffs per se.
Bureaucracy.
It's bureaucracy, quotas, registrations. This needs to be registered and recognized. We can't take your food because this body has not recognized the use of that in something. So they have all these restrictive trade barriers. Like, for instance, in Israel, how Israel does it, even though they never had tariffs, because they have these like influential families. Heinz tried to put ketchup in
In Israel.
Israel, but however it works, they were able to make some sort of regulation that their food governing body only recognized ketchup was a certain way that excluded it. So the company that was in Israel that makes it, they could put the word ketchup on their bottle, but even Heinz ketchup in Israel could put the same bottle, same this, but their label had to say tomato seasoning because it didn't meet the definition of what, you know what I mean? Countries play games, and there's like duties, there's green taxes. Like I said, the double the
Currency
cost of
devaluing.
shipping and the
Yeah.
currency devaluation. So when you understand that all of that equals the words tariff, and then you see Lutnick going like, tariffs are here to stay. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, that's what's happening. It's what's happening. But I
Did you
don't.
see China's
I,
reaction? They seem to be the most hostile. I think
They've
they
ramped
are,
it right up. We're up to like 100% tariff, 104% tariff on China now.
which I kind of thought like there might be like an arbitrage opportunity for like the next 6 months for like Canadians and border communities at dollar stores and stuff. Like with Americans coming over and like loading up on aspirin and Q-tips
But
and
they're charging you 25% at the border for almost everything.
well, and that was another thing. On the border, on the note of the media and their vibes, like that the headline of Global News, if you go to Global News Mobile at least, the first article is like, can the U.S. Customs and Border search your cell phone and Wi-Fi, like your computer when you cross the border? And you're just like, you read this whole article to come and find out, you're just like, yeah, of course they've been able to do it the whole time. But like,
Why would you never have thought that was
since the
possible?
Patriot Act, it's been like not a problem. but like we're gonna lead with like, poof, things are getting spicy, and
But
like,
yeah, it's all doom and gloom. But I was also thinking in light of that. Okay, so speaking of China, we've elevated the tariffs back, or the U.S. has, the West has the tariffs back at them. One of the experts I was listening to on tariffs, like once you get over like 100% tariffs, it's like it could be 1,000, it could be a million
probably
percent tariff.
500. Like we don't care,
It
whatever.
makes no difference.
Which
There's a,
also kind
and
of
there
makes sense with the way they've treated Russia, Iran, and North Korea and Venezuela with the round of tariffs, because it was like, oh, they're already screwed, so don't even worry about those
yeah,
guys.
well, yeah, we're
It's
not even
probably
supposed
like
to be
exactly
trading
like that. Where
exactly,
yeah,
so they're not. So essentially, it seems, and I was kind of thinking this. I'm not saying this is the case, but I was just thinking this that okay, so Trump, like I said, he's summarized all of these different trade tactic negotiations in one simple, neat, tidy bow called tariffs. But let's get a little bit bigger than that, because I know it's the biggest story of the day. And I know, again, I'm not telling anybody anything, that there's a competition between the USA and China. But I do wonder if, I was thinking, the thought that popped into my head that got me thinking along the lines was, would boomers rather their 401ks go down 20%, or would they rather bury their grandchildren and like granddaughters and grandsons who are killed in a military conflict that must inevitably happen with China? Like it can't.
whoa, what?
You get the
Door
point
number
I'm
one and
saying?
door number two. Door number one is war with China, and door number one is like 20%
No, I'm
haircut.
saying I'm hypothesizing.
Okay, sorry.
Trump knows that, okay, like China's retaliatory tariffs have been cutting off critical minerals. Like some of those minerals are 100% necessary for like Musk, for him to do his fly to space.
Yeah, and
There's
if you
all
want to move the
kinds.
chips over here, they probably need all that stuff. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so there's all kinds of that, and they have on 90%, cornered the market, and 100% on like certain ones that it's 100%, and USA has stockpiles. What I'm saying is there's a brewing conflict, and it has been with China for a long time. And Donald Trump, instead of dropping bombs, is dropping economic bombs. And this is necessary. I'm not saying I know the reasons why, but this conflict has to come. This spheres of influence has to be. These lines have to be drawn in the sand. And you see Trump, 70 countries have agreed to negotiate. Is the world being drawn up economic? Of course it always is, but this is an escalation level that, again, you've even mentioned yourself, the Chinese do not want a kinetic war, but probably neither does America. And what I'm saying is it's possible that this is so serious that literally, yes, the question is, would you rather your 401k go down some percentage, or be burying your grandsons and granddaughters that are fighting an active conflict? Because is this what they're trying to avoid? Is this what they're trying? I'm not putting that out there as my argument. I'm just saying,
Well, I would.
is it that serious? Is this conflict with China getting to the point where something drastic has had to be done, and Trump's doing it?
I would say, from a Canadian lens, those people you're talking about, their views on China are heavily influenced by the mainstream media in Canada, and the mainstream media in Canada is very soft on the Chinese Communist Party, Chinese police stations in Canada, anything negative, or you know what I mean? Like we had those guys, we had the two Michaels, like you know, imprisoned for years. Like they're probably more afraid of Putin. I would bet you dollars to donuts. The majority of the boomers in Canada are probably think,
But I'm
oh,
not.
well,
It's not. I'm not talking about the boomers. I'm saying
you're
is
asking them for them to take a haircut on their
I'm
401k.
not.
So I
I'm
just
not
figured,
I'm not asking them. That was my thought. I'm no one to ask anyone anything. I'm just saying there's like, is it so serious behind the scenes that to rebalance manufacturing. Like Trump sees this as dire, trying to get, I mean, all of this is trying to figure out, get inside his head. Is the next step that they see inevitable is literally fighting. So this is being done, like him getting Greenland's critical minerals. Like if you keep, like I'm saying, I'm trying to figure out what's happening. And so if you take it up bigger and bigger, we went up to looking at tariffs as like, oh, this encompasses all of this. But if you look at that, this is a head-to-head battle with China, one step even above. All the things that they're doing start to make sense, is what I'm suggesting.
What I think it is more equates to is kind of like, do you remember the movie The Patriot, where like Mel Gibson won using guerrilla warfare against the British, who were still fighting in like formations and whatnot? I think that China has been fighting, so to say, a quote unquote diplomatic economic guerrilla warfare, and maybe Trump's trying to like play the game now. It's like, look, we've been trying to play the other way, and we've been losing to the Chinese for 3 decades. So like,
this is exactly what I'm getting
flip it around. Like nothing against the Chinese. Like I'm friends with Xi Jinping. He says that all the time, and you've seen them together. Where he's like, I'm not mad at them. I'm mad at our guys for signing the paper. He always says that. So, and I think you can make a case for that. Like, I mean, if you know anything about the Chinese Communist Party and like the Belt and Road Initiative and like what they've been up to for like the last 30 years at home and abroad, it's they've been doing quite a bit of, one might say, empire building or nation state building. Like a lot of different countries are like indebted to them through Belt and Road initiatives, like getting like ports and highways and buildings built for them. And then like it's China's not fooling around, and it seems like
and he said he's willing to go the distance.
Yeah.
Like so yeah, like the whole way. And then I mean the Chinese are pretty, but I will say, because the USA are consumers, they consume 5 times the trade that China. It'd be much worse for Chinese workers. And it's not like the Communist Party, like if all of a sudden factories are closing left, right, and center, wealthy Chinese people are going to be mad, and then Chinese people in the streets are going to be mad.
There's already trouble in China with that
Absolutely.
stuff. Like
so this is what I'm getting at. This, yeah, exactly.
Factories, like
now we're getting somewhere. So is this the timing? Is this like is Trump seeing the weakness? Is this a way, right? Is this a way to fight the war in quotes that needs to be fought?
I don't think war is good in the long run for anybody, but I do think there's a case to be made that like China would probably like welcome a war in the sense of like sweeping a lot of problems under the rug. You know what I mean? With just the shift in internal, not so much external. I think a war would be better for China with like amongst like a lot of the strife that's going on in their country. They could like kind of quash it and maybe direct everybody toward national fervor, like against whoever the war's against.
I certainly would not want to put the resolve of the average American against the resolve of the average Chinese Communist Party member, for sure. So
I don't think there's a way. There's a war. I don't think America and China go to war. Although, on a side note,
again, that's why when I said war, I went like that.
Well, did you see? We had the 2 Chinese guys today. Like the Ukrainians captured 2 Chinese soldiers with like Chinese credit cards and ID, and he was making a big stink about it. Like, America, you're fighting China. Basically, it was, I don't know. I just read the headline, but it was almost like more or less, it kind of seemed like Zelensky trying to be like, well, you should probably give me more money, and like we should fight China now too. It's like, yeah, I don't know what you think's going on here. Like
China cut America in the movie industry, which they claim is $500 billion a year.
Which I don't know about you, man, but like, there's no way. I don't know. The Chinese movie market, I always kind of just thought was a waste of money because, like, I remember I used to buy the Pirates in Chinatown, so I had a bias. Like, man,
no. I'm talking about the other way. I'm saying they're not allowing American movies. Their counter-tariff response.
Oh, is bye-bye Hollywood.
Chinese are saying bye-bye Hollywood to Chinese market.
What about the NBA?
Which is
I think they're kicking the NBA out. They love their NBA.
Not yet.
No, they won't kick the NBA. But they'll have to wear some Chinese communist stuff when they come over to play ball.
Well, no, $500 billion. That's a blow to the American economy. some people were hypothesizing that because Hollywood is already anti-Trump, it would ratchet up the most vocal voices against Trump in the media.
I think if you've been paying attention to Hollywood in the last 5 years, Hollywood's not the same with AI too coming out. Like I think we've talked before, aside from this, with like Tyler Perry seeing some new AI stuff. A few months back, there was an article, and he canceled like this like $500 million expansion of his theater in outside Atlanta there. So I think there's like, and
That
that's
has nothing to do with tariffs.
no, but I'm talking about Hollywood. I think is like already
Yeah, I know,
got
but that has
bigger
nothing to
problems.
do with the $500 billion. The point is
And
that's a
it's nothing to do with China, it's what I'm
countermeasure
saying.
with tariffs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, it's nothing to do with
China,
China either. Like China wasn't
right?
saving them.
China,
Yeah,
China is fighting with America,
I
and
think.
this response is $500 billion. That's a significant response.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's needed to be a balanced cut. So like Trump made some negotiations when he was prime minister, when with Xi Jinping last time he was president. So I see them meeting. One thing I will say that's nice about what's on Trump's plate right now, right? Because there's multiple facets of like American foreign issues that are going on, like whether it's internal or external. Is like I don't think he's going to talk about Canada. Like I think Canada genuinely like he put a thing in his phone for like 1 month, Canada, and like he like because like the only thing that's going to help the liberals right now, the number one thing that is drawing liberal support is Trump and fear of Trump. So if Trump kind of lays off the gas about Canada, which I think he will, like he's firing things off over in the Gulf. He's passing record-breaking Pentagon budgets, like doing a whole bunch of stuff nobody likes, and like trying to like talk Israel out of a war with Iran or into one. Like there's a lot of stuff going on, and I think Canada is literally like, I mean, just bottom of the list. You know what I mean? Like we're like like you're going on a long hike, and like we're like the fanny pack that you might bring. Like maybe you'll bring but like I got this backpack called Israel I got to deal with. I got this Ukraine Russia thing. Like these are my pants that I got to bring. Like I don't think Canada's going to come out of Trump's mouth for a month, in my mind.
That's a good. I believe it. I mean, I think this all fingers seem to be pointing to China. That's what I'm getting at.
Or the Houthis that he bombed, and like maybe stuff with Iran. Like he's talking with Iran directly. Like that's like a big deal because apparently there's always an intermediary, and so like he's got a lot of bigger deals to deal with right now. And it's definitely one of those with Canada where it's almost like a soup on the oven. You're just like, yeah, I'll come back in an hour. Like I don't need to sit here and yell at the soup or talk about the soup for an hour. I'll just come back in an hour or in a month and deal with this little chestnut when the time comes.
But it won't. I mean, these aren't these tariffs already ticking? Like we're already paying the automotive tax to some degree, energy tariffs. Are these things not already being
Not on
applied?
oil. And actually, I heard a good point made by Kevin O'Leary the other day in an interview. He talked about like how like basically kind of like in our echo chamber, he was like more of the premiers and leaders need to be kind of like Daniel Smith, and he mentioned what she did, going down, meeting with Americans, and like getting the oil waived, the tariff waived on Alberta oil. And he also brought up a good point too, which was like he's like the Canadian leaders need to like basically think smarter because like essentially if you Alberta oil, Canadians are importers from America. Like we buy way more stuff from America on average than they buy from us. So and it's just like so this one thing that you're already kind of juicing us on, like if you and that's the thing, like so he kind of brought up a good point, which is like if any of those leaders were worth their salt, they would go down there and raise that point, which obviously is going to come up when they have NAFTA 3 negotiations after the election. But yeah, I just think it's funny that by the Canadian, there's people in Canada and like over 40%, at least in the media sphere, that think Daniel Smith's in hot water for getting tariffs removed over her province. Like she should be given a medal. They should call it Daniel Smith Day in Alberta, April 3rd.
Well, they probably are in
They
Alberta.
are. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just wild. Like you said, yeah, like she could cure cancer and they're going to be like, there's way too many people. She's letting more people, like they're like, have you seen how many people there are?
Yeah, it's
Sorry to kind of trail off back into that.
no problem. It's interesting. What I think this at the very least going down the road, reorganizing the global supply chain, the whole shooting match, that's happening. It seems to be. And
Well, happened.
oh
It's
no,
happened.
it's
Liberation
happening.
Day.
Yeah, it's, yes.
Liberation Day.
I don't really think there's any way that Canada can, like, it's impossible for Canada to extricate itself from. In fact, I was even watching this, I don't know, like, I can't remember what this called, but congressional hearing or something. And they were asking, this was fairly recent, like within the last 2 weeks, and they were asking some general in America about Northern protection and Canada integration and how this tariff and loss of friendship and diplomatic something, this, that, and that. And the bottom line at all the end of every question, ultimately led to, like, there was like absolutely zero scenario where the longest undefended border could ever be anything but buddies with the United States. There's no other scenario.
Even if we
Said in
had,
clear, plain language. Yeah.
but even if we had 10 times the population, like, okay, it's still the largest army in the world. Like, it's just a dumb thing. It's so dumb. Is it a good idea to start selling more stuff to Europe and to Asia? Absolutely. But like,
Absolutely.
nobody, but yeah, it's just wild. It's wild.
Okay, so let's for funsies, let's go with here's a something to think about. So, like, even Besant, the Commerce Secretary, I think, he was even talking about, like, Europe passing some of the stuff, which is, again, he's fighting or trying to fight against, is like them deplatforming X,
yes,
limiting free
speech.
speech
Yeah,
of Americans.
you
Yeah,
don't need to go
yeah,
against everybody.
right.
Reasonable.
Absolutely. Then they also talked about, like, companies forcing ESG requirements to do business in Europe. Like, there's a lot of reasons why even we as Canadians would probably have a hard time doing business with Europe because of those monkey business.
Can I side note real quick? I was listening
Yes.
to Tucker Carlson today, and he had like one of the former presidents of Anheuser-Busch on, and I believe he was that. And nonetheless, they were talking about like the Dylan Mulvaney campaign and all that happened, and basically how like the reaction by the CEO was like just terrible and was adding like fuel to the flames. Like even like 6 months later, like when he went on, and like all that to come out, it's like they were talking about how since Anheuser-Busch is actually owned by like InBev, which is like a European company. So it's like that guy's boss is like it was like a French guy who like has to follow all these ESG rules. So it was like the guy like even like because like the one reporter, I think it might have been Laura Ingraham or whatever, 6 months after he's back up like talking about what the incident, like she called him out and was like, "Can't you see that like your canned response right now is like exactly what got you into this issue to begin with? Like they went from making $6 billion a year to like $4 billion a year, so it cost $2 billion, like that big mistake there." And it was just like it is two different ways of doing business, like with the ESG and all that stuff. Like, and it's like the stakeholder capitalism. And it's, I think with like, when like the Americans, like JD Vance or whoever says like woke is over, I think that's obviously what they're talking about. Like all that
Yeah,
stuff.
like there's more going on here than just tariffs, and there's big things in the background that are, again, not, I don't even want to go into the world of conspiracies and global governments. I just mean you don't even have to go that deep to there's an ideological clash. There's a way of doing things clash, and Trump's bringing down the hammer on the whole shooting match. So I get that the weight of the existing establishment is coming at him. So again, it's no surprise that the wording of the
flashing like snake creature in the water lashing out because it's being attacked, and like that's what I see. And
absolutely. But I do like to try to figure out these, above, like these connections above, and I see that exactly. Like, you would think that Trump, like, even I don't think he's insane. And then he puts his tariffs on, like his reciprocal tariffs on Europe, and Europe in a few days says we're willing to go 0-0, and he's like, nah. Like,
Well, I also heard a case too. Did you
like
realize?
how crazy, how
Well, well, the
crazy is
EU,
that? It's
the
great.
EU was founded to win trade deals against America, right? Like that was like one of the founding principles of the European Union was to like win trade against America because like when we're all divided, like we'll fall. And there's like you could see a
Yeah,
case to be made for that relatively, like a small country
yeah,
like
I don't
Denmark
blame.
wanting an investment versus another country like Holland. Like let's all work together. I could see a case for both sides, but after like
Absolutely.
yeah,
Well,
but also
that's the very nature of our party. Economic unions are brilliant. Sovereignty, not the same. Defense, to, joining
economic
together,
prosperity and
brilliant.
defense same.
Yes,
Yes, yeah.
absolutely. As big a consortium as you can, like, that makes sense. Like, I don't want to go protect some
No, but
tiny island over
essentially what
there,
it
but
is like it's already the way it is for the super elite corporations and our governments. Like our armies work hand in hand. You know what I mean? We procure a lot of stuff, and same with our companies. Like the big oil companies are all Alberta are all American. So it's kind of like why not let the little guy? Like if I want to, like if there's a hurricane in Florida, why can't some carpenters from St. John just hop in a truck and go down there and like get their paper for taxes and boop right back over? Like let's make things a little bit easier for the little guy.
absolutely.
If I want to buy like a
Well,
Wayne
that's
Gretzky
another
rookie
funny
card from
thing.
California,
That's
why do I
that's
got to pay 25%? Like, anyways, I just think the little guy just loses without like the way we're talking. Like the big guys are already winning. So let's let the little guy have a break.
Well, that would be ideal, but that's not how it works
Well, that's
anymore, ever.
populism, which is tantamount to Nazism. You're great. That's crazy.
Well, I mean, okay, so if we give Trump the benefit of the doubt that his goal is indeed to bring back jobs to the middle class and restore a golden age of good paying jobs for middle class families and helping that whole deal.
Restore the middle
So
class.
if that's the case, then the only people who are losing money in this is the moneyed class because they're losing their 401, right? They're
Yeah,
yeah.
the top
So
10%, I think, control 88% of the stocks of America.
yeah,
So it's like, and that's a big thing. Like I saw some posts online. Like there was one that was like I'm 26. Like I don't care about your 401k. I care about this $10,000 car loan I have at 12% that I gotta pay off, and like this
yeah,
this $500 insurance I have to pay every month because you let all these illegals in on the roads without licenses, and this
yeah,
2K rent I have to pay because
yeah.
you again let all these people in, and now there's no deals anymore for anybody. And it's just it's that clash again, that established bureaucratic elite comfort class where everything was working out. You know what I mean? Like the gravy train was going along, and now there's a
Yeah,
ruffle in
and
that.
the boomers are the bulk of that, and then there's a
Yeah,
few generations that are a smaller funnel of the next few generations are in that group, and more people are being excluded, I guess.
for sure. All over the world. And you see that with the populist uprisings all over and with
And
like
that's
the
why this
clamping
is all
down.
part of that reckoning.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just wild to me how people can like run like you hear like Rosie O'Donnell going to Ireland for freedom and stuff like that. And you're just like you look at Europe right now and anybody that pays attention, like I think Marine Le Pen is out, but she's on house arrest now in France. And like they just arrested
And
that
I heard that
Romanian.
she's going to be able to run again or something. She is going to be able to run or something.
Well, yeah, and there's the other young guy, and you're just like, it's just wild. Like even there was a video like Hamza Youssef put out. He's like I think he's the Scottish national MP in Scotland, and he had that one clip you might have seen 3 years ago where he's naming all the different positions in Scotland, and he just keeps going like High Priest Court white,
Oh
head
yeah,
judge
yeah.
white. That guy, he's that
In the white country, yeah, I saw that.
in
His
Scotland,
name
like
sounded
98%
familiar.
white country, and he's just complaining about it, and he's in Parliament. But he had a video out last week, basically like winking his eye at like the lawfare that like they're able to like inflict on their political opposition. And you're just kind of like, you smug prick. Like if the media wasn't in bed with the ruling bureaucratic elite, like you wouldn't be able to just go out there and like, crack fun at like lawfare against your political opponent. Like what you should win in the streets of ideas. Obviously you shouldn't be like arresting people because you appointed a
Yeah,
bunch
but I
of
mean, the playbook for the last little while has been, the term lawfare, as they
for
say.
sure.
and that it's worked. So
Yeah.
that
Again,
it's working there. Yeah, well, yeah, well, you know that judge that I think he was in Washington D.C. told them to turn the planes back
hmm
for the immigrants that they were flying to those detention centers in El Salvador, but from Texas. Do you remember that? It was a few weeks ago.
yeah, I recall.
Right. So the end result of that is the Supreme Court decided that the a judge would have to be the, first off, the case would have to be brought forth by a Texas judge that had jurisdiction. I mean, it sounds like you wouldn't even need the Supreme Court to say that, but the point being is there seems to be a pushback now of these independent judges highly favorable to
All over the world, whether it's the
yeah.
American, which has like the most grassroots part, or it's Europe, where the EU didn't like who the Romanians elected. So they said, redo, too much interference from Russia. And they arrested the Pierre Poilievre that won over there. So it's happening all over. And it's not, it's not just here. And I'm not, again, I don't think Pierre Poilievre is a beacon of hope. I mean, but he is compared to
No, I'm disappointed, to be honest. I'm disappointed in the conservatives. I think if Canada's people can say whatever they want. Canada is not that different than the United States, and Canada is not that different than the rest of the world. And this is a real 50-50. People are like divided when you get right down to it. If people are pushed to make a decision, they're there. And I think if Polyev had gone, I don't mean MAGA. I definitely don't mean MAGA, but had really leaned into and made no apologies. Like the reason why it was easy to find Polyev and Trump saying the same things is because they're both saying things that are true and are common sense. Yeah, they're not like it's not a political platform what they're saying. It's a grocery list of common sense things.
There's no milk in
Yeah.
the fridge. We need milk. They keep talking about milk.
Yeah. Yeah, and I really wish that I think there's enough people in just like in the United States where they wouldn't say in polite company, I'm going to vote for Trump, but obviously they did because he
Well, here's
won.
what I would say to you to
And
that.
I think if and I know we're a little bit left, but I think it's bigger than Canada's history, bigger than Canada's, even though the NDP could join in. I think if he had really leaned into like enough is enough, and this is what we got to do, I think there may have been a hope, but I don't have much hope now. Go on, sorry.
Well, I think I have hope. I have hope. I think the election, in my mind, I see flashes of 1984 and 1991 when Turner lost to Mulrooney in '84.
But
And
did the NDP totally collapse in those elections?
there's a myriad of factors in every time and place, economically, domestically, and like there's always different issues.
Sure,
Like, because
sure.
everybody's like, even when I brought it up to our friend Alex, he was like, "Well, that was a different time. Like right now, like, it's totally different." It's like every time's totally different. But at the end of the day, I'm saying I see flashes of that because again, every time I see Carney speak, the first time I saw him speak, I've said it before, when he saw him in Davos getting interviewed by Rebel, he looked like a charmer, even though he didn't answer the question. So right away, I was like, I don't like what the man stands for, but I could see him being like an Obama-like good statesman, a good orator. And ever since that moment, he's just looked like more and more like a bumbling fool or like a person who doesn't like to be told no to. And I think the more I see Pierre speak, the more in his element he looks. And I would say to your point of like, yes, in my heart, as a guy who likes Trump, I would love to see Pierre say some more mega-like things. However, as an honest Canadian, I know that like for him to like catch some of the flies from the NDP and possible liberals, he can't go too close to that. And I think he's doing a pretty good line walking it by saying the just common sense thing Trump was saying, where and without saying like the heated rhetoric, you know what I mean? By Canadian standards, he is Trump-esque because he's kind of got a mild personality, whereas like most politicians don't have a personality.
I agree with you 100%. That would have been the wrong move for Pierre, but it might have been the right move for a different candidate. I don't agree with you entirely that Canada is so geared this to the left that somebody who leaned into a real populist message could not get a majority government. I don't necessarily agree with that because I think it's a bigger issue. It's a bigger thing that's going on in the world. Like you say, like these European parties are mixed parties here, and they're getting this populist Ceausescu or the Romanian guy, Greg Cescu or whatever. He just got in. The guy you're talking about.
Okay.
He got in. Yeah. He got in and then they turfed him.
Yeah.
So why in a multi-party company like Romania could they get a consensus to vote for the populist? I mean, it makes more obvious sense in the United States because it's a two-party system. And I know we seem to think like, oh, there's three parties here, and but if the left all joined together, I'm saying the right guy with that the message is bigger than Canada's past. We're not so unique that the right guy could take that populist message, which again would be similar to Trump, but doesn't have to be Trump. And I think they could win if they leaned into it.
I agree, but I think Pierre is doing that in a soft way. We're just saying, like,
Yeah, I just don't think he's
affordable.
He's not the guy.
An option. When it's not an option right now, which is basically populism. Like, you're speaking to the people.
Yeah, but it's not. See, the difference between Pierre and Trump is Trump will wave a pen and do it, and Pierre will not. So he'll get in, and there'll be a committee, and then $1 billion will be for affordable housing, and then the answer to affordable housing is it's impossible to build affordable housing with the bureaucracy, red tape, and green.
Do you know what the Liberals' plan is for that, brother? It's literally they want to create another body, like to build houses, like a housing. The Liberals said they would like to build nearly 500,000 homes annually over the next 10 years, doubling the current rate of residential construction. So it's all Canadian.
And they already can't. Yeah, but they don't even have the people to build it now. They don't have the people.
It also plans to establish the Build Canada Homes, an entity that would act as a developer to speed up the construction of affordable housing, including providing $25 billion in financing to the builders of prefabricated homes and $10 billion to those who build affordable homes. Like, the party said, it plans to eliminate GST for first-time home buyers under $1 million. But, like, you just read that, and like I was telling you the other day about like the same thing on their platform for the army. It's just like a Candyland wish list. You just read that, and you're like, yeah, that sounds great.
Who's joining?
What world are you living in?
Like, who's joining that army? Who's building these homes?
The army.
Nobody.
You're kind of like, I get what you're saying with the army. Like, invest in doctors, give pay raises, make some expansions in the north, build new ports, build a bigger navy. Like, I'm all for that. But second off, you've been in charge for 10 years, and you've done the exact opposite of that. As a matter of fact, you took Mark Norman to court when he made a comment about your ship procurement procedures. Admiral Mark Norman, you might remember. The Canadian government took him to court because he was commenting on the ship procurements that were going on. So, and then you throw in like the housing plan where you're like, oh, your remedy is like the government starting more government. Like that worked. That's worked out so well in the past, right? Like, what world are you living in?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's funny. Because you are right though too. Like, let's say Pierre does win, and let's say he wins a majority, a small one but a majority. You are right. The Canadian standards for thing is just like so naturally like we think America's got a bureaucrat problem. Like ours is the same, if not worse.
It is worse.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's worse.
I'm certain it is too. By on a per capita metric, like right away with we know the CRA versus the IRS. We have like 8 times the tax collectors per capita that America has.
I don't know if that's.
No, that is true.
I don't know. No, I'm not arguing with you.
Yeah, I think off the top of my head, I think Canada Revenue Agency is like 88,000, and I think America Revenue Agency.
You know what I'll do? This is a good experience. I'll ask Susan AI, and I'll put her answer in.
Go for it.
You were close, Adrian, but the ratio per capita is 5.7 to 1, not 8 to 1.
We're already seeing what's going on with like the rampant problems of unchecked, unfettered bureaucracy in the States right now. And if we're worse, you're just like, it's just wild. And if the Liberals do win, I guess like, let's all go get our welfare check.
Well, was I telling you about this? I'll take one. Was I telling you about this? Yeah. Anyone's listening out there, CCP, we're available as well. I was saying, what were we talking about?
liberal solution is spending more money. Even if Pierre wins, he's still going to be like similar, like govern with like organized like groups and agencies, and McKinsey and Deloitte are still going to have their opinion on everything.
I don't remember. Can't be that important.
He won't just, yeah, you're right. He's not going in with a chainsaw. He didn't campaign like Javier Milei with a chainsaw.
Yeah,
but
not capable.
But the way he's talking about the mines, shovel-ready jobs, it's like he's on the right.
I like the idea. I like the idea.
If he keeps,
I like the idea of that. Absolutely. I like the idea if that can be done. But I mean, the reason the pipelines died because there wasn't enough consultation with the indigenous. I just think there's even without a cowboy. That's what I was going to say. Without a cowboy like Trump, who like does what he wants, will listen to the courts, right? He uses his executive power, has said, I'll do what the courts say, but he does it first, right? And he does it first. Yeah. And I just don't see that happening here, where somebody should be like, pipeline go here. Oh, I guess we'll fight you in court about your compensation. And that's not going to happen here.
Well, here's the problem here. I believe they get your little AI to fact check me on this, but I'm pretty sure there's like 114 or 115 senators, and Trudeau himself appointed 88 of them. So it's like you can get whatever you want through the House, but as soon as it goes to the Senate, it's done. If it's
see, again, there you go. So if it's any sort of anti-DEI or like how we're going to compete with the United States if we have carbon this,
we're just going to cook our bread. Yeah, it's over.
I wanted to show you this.
We let Japan come in and dump everything right into our markets and everything. It's not free trade. If you ever go to Japan right now and try to sell something, forget about it, Just forget about it. It's almost impossible. They don't have laws against it. They just make it impossible. They come over here, they sell their cars, their VCRs, they knock the hell out of our companies. And hey, I have tremendous respect for the Japanese people. I mean, you can respect somebody that's beating the hell out of you, but they are beating the hell out of this country. Kuwait, they live like kings. The poorest person in Kuwait, they live like kings. And yet they're not paying. We make it possible for them to sell their oil. Why aren't they paying us 25% of what they're making? It's a joke.
This sounds like political presidential talk to me. And I know people have talked to you about whether or not you want to run. Would you ever?
Probably not.
That clip. That's one of the clips where anybody that like is always like, what's Trump talking about? What's Trump talking about? You're just like, well, let's take a look at 1985. Because he's saying the exact same thing. We're getting screwed on these trade deals. And that's a point I've mentioned in the past, but I think a lot of Canadians and Europeans don't consider that. They don't consider that, like, yeah, you got socialized medicine, but it's also like you have a socialized military because America is your buddy. And everybody knows that your buddy's got a big stick. So, like, but you need to give your buddy some money to pay for that big stick. It costs some money for that stick. It's fair.
Absolutely.
It's fair.
It is fair.
It's just, Trump's just the only one that said it ever.
Well, it seems like he's willing to. And I guess nobody seems to be able to understand what he's attempting to do. Again, I'm rolling my eyes when I say that. No one seems to understand what he's attempting to do. Again, not saying he's right. I'm not even saying that. But apparently there's no model in the world, according to every economist, where this makes sense. Doesn't make sense. None of it can make sense. I can't hold two ideas in my head at the same time. How can tariffs raise money if you're trying to negotiate the tariffs away? Like, again, it's ridiculous. They're talking in circles. And not even one, like, do you think I'm just saying, let's say you were to take the top 10 economists in the world at a convention, and then the convention's over and they're all at a pub, right? And all 10 of them are around the table at the pub. The same 10 we're going to hear on the news say that this is ridiculous. And then one of them were to posit that, the America's having a lot of trouble. And, I had this idea that if we implemented a harsh protectionism and blanket tariffs across the whole world, we could transform America's economy.
From consumer to
yeah.
producers.
Would you want to tell me that all of those 9 other people at the conference would say nope, and that would be it? They just nope.
Well,
nope, impossible. And then the guy who brought it up, he would go, yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah, and never talk about it.
They would talk, for hours, and there would be half on this and half on that side, and they could each one of them could come up with half a dozen reasons why it might work or why it might not work. But you've heard none of that, not one of that in the media. It's only this guy from this place says chaos, madness. There's no precedent. It's impossible. Trump's crazy. He doesn't even know what he's doing. I don't even know how you call yourself a economist if you couldn't try to have a more measured approach than that.
Well,
I wouldn't consider myself an academic if I couldn't present
play devil's
two
advocate.
sides.
Even just play devil's advocate. Like, because I remember even in high school, in law class in like grade 11, you had to like debate one or the other side of an issue, and it wasn't you know, you didn't get to pick the issue. You know what I mean? Like, you always that's something they taught you at a young age. You know what I mean? You got to be able to, like, if you want to argue a point, and even good debaters say that, if you want to win a point, you got to be able to argue the other side better than the other side if you want to make your point. So yeah, no, they're just throwing like the chart of their base. Like, it's what, you know what I mean? Like, nobody wants the truth. We can't handle the truth. We can't handle
the truth.
And especially because like every other nation right now would love nothing more than to blame whatever minor problem is going on in the news cycle in their own country on Trump, right?
Absolutely.
Full
Scapegoat. Excellent point. Yeah. No matter what, this happens. Oh, Trump's. It's the uncertainty.
Yeah.
Don't you love that? Those words? I love that. The word uncertainty and chaos. It's like they don't mean anything.
Such corporate jargon, like boardroom.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's like,
because basically what you're saying is just like you want authoritarian control. We need to know that the light's going to go green, and then it's going to go yellow, and then it's going to go red. And if it doesn't do that,
no, but it's exactly like the point you made up at the beginning of the show about, you know, the Polyev clip where it just said like no words necessary. It's the same thing. We determined that was like, you just look at it and then you create your own reason to be pissed. And this is the same thing. Yeah, chaos and uncertainty. It's the exact same thing.
And you know what the comment is over? It's actually arguably because Pierre's been talking to a reporter, and there's a case to be made that like the rally he had last night in Edmonton, which people are saying like 10 to 15,000 people, maybe more or less, right? But somewhere in between there, was technically the largest rally ever in Canadian politics. And he was, and so it's like you're drawing light to that, like where you're just kind of like so tone deaf. Where it's like, look at this guy draws a crowd. People leave the house. Ugh. Like, we do our rallies on TikTok.
Yeah, traffic. There were traffic problems downtown. Like, what? Gross. Yeah. Don't. Well, that's crazy.
I think you're making fun of
I guess. Well, that's a good spot, I guess, to wrap it up.
Thanks, everybody.
I don't know.
We'll see you
next week.
Thank
Absolutely.
you,
My pleasure.
Wow!